Okay, brother, when you get it, go ahead.
And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's.
Now we're going to go to Ecclesiastes chapter 12. We're going to read verses 13 through 14. Ecclesiastes 12, 13 through 14. Okay, my brother.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
And now we're going to Revelations chapter 22. We're going to read verses 14 through 15. 22, 14 through 15. Go ahead, my brother.
Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. For without are dogs and sorcerers and whoremongers and murderers and idolaters and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie.
Let us thank the Lord for the reading of his law. We just read the patience of the saints, keeping the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you do not have to keep these commandments. They are the key to eternal life. I'd like to say good afternoon to the brothers and sisters here in St. Louis.
Good afternoon, Brother James.
My name is Brother James. I'll be your guest teacher for today, and reading for me today is Brother Mark. Okay. Here at the Israel of God, we use a King James version of the Bible. So any visitors here, let you know that we ask you to have some patience as we let the Bible speak. We ask you to bring paper, pen, pencil, and patience, because we're going to go through this book and we're going to take a good look at scriptures and the things that the Lord has outlined in his word. Sisters and brothers, today's lesson is based on the biblical character Job. Most people have heard about the biblical character Job. They've heard or read the details about the many things he patiently suffered and how Job eventually ended up better than at his beginning. As sisters and brothers who are trying to live righteously among an ungodly world, we sometimes have our own Job moments, right? Moments where evil befalls us for no apparent reason. When this occurs, we may sometimes find ourselves angry and questioning God for our suffering. Well, this lesson titled The Story of Job takes an extensive look at the book of Job, progressing through the chapter's details and concluding with an answer to the book's central theme and questions. Shall mortal man be more just than God? Shall a man be more pure than his maker? Again, this lesson's title is The Story of Job. And we're going to start at Job 1, and we're going to read verses 1 through 5. Job chapter 1, verses 1 through 5. We're going to deal with a lot of Job today, so keep your marker out. We're going to go in and out of this book extensively. Job 1, and verse 1. Okay, Brother Mark.
There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job.
Now,
And
there
that
was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job. Okay. There are two Uz's in the Bible, if you are not aware of it. Okay, there's Genesis 10 and 23 and 1 Chronicles 1 and 17 give Uz descended from Aram, which is Shem, right? Shemite. Genesis 36, 19 and 28 and 1 Chronicles 1 and 42 give Uz descended from Esau. Okay, and Lamentations 4:21 also mentions Edom that dwelleth in the land of Uz. I'm not sure which one this is. We just know that this is one of those lands. Okay, go ahead, Brother Mark.
there was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job. And that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil.
Now it says that Job was perfect and upright. I want you to keep that in mind because it's going to come back. Perfect and upright. Okay, go ahead.
And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 she-asses, and a very great household.
So he had a lot of substance. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He had 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 ox, and 500 donkeys. I'm going to use that term.
Mm-hmm.
Go on, Job 1, verse 6 through 7.
So that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them.
So every time his son had a birthday, they would party and feast, and they called his sisters to eat and drink with them. Go ahead.
And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually.
Job made sure he prayed for his sons and his daughters in case they partied a little too hard. Might have slipped up and erred, okay? Go on to verse 6 and continue.
Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them.
Now these sons of God, you would learn in another lesson, the sons of God, spirit, spiritual, and spirit. These sons of God here are angels, right? And it said they came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth and from walking up and down in it.
Now Satan said he was going to and fro in the earth and walking up and down in it. Why? Let's go find out. Let's go to 1 Peter, the 5th chapter. 1 Peter chapter 5. Keep your marker here in Job because we're coming back. 1 Peter chapter 5. And we're going to pick this up at verse 6. What is Satan doing walking up and down? Well, verse 6. Chapter 5 and verse 6. Go ahead, Brother Mark.
Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you.
Go ahead.
Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil as a roaring lion walketh about seeking whom he may devour.
He said, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil as a roaring lion walketh about seeking whom he may devour. So Satan is walking around trying to see who he has permission. You see, may devour. He has permission to attack. Okay, let's go back to Job. Let's go back to Job. Job 1 and verse 8. Job 1 and verse 8. Let's see what the Lord asked Satan. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job?
Have you noticed Job? Go ahead.
That there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man.
A perfect and an upright man. Again, this is coming to play. This is the Lord saying that Job is a perfect and upright man. Go ahead.
One that feareth God and escheweth evil. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, doth Job fear God for naught? Hast not thou made a hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the
He
land.
said, why wouldn't Job fear you? You didn't increase them, you didn't bless them on every side. Go ahead.
But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face.
Satan said, put forth thine hand now and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in thy power. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand.
So Satan got permission to touch Job's substance. Go ahead.
So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, The oxen were plowing, the asses feeding beside them. And the Sabians fell upon them and took them away.
Okay.
Yeah, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell.
So now he lost all his oxes and all his donkeys. Go ahead.
While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, The fire of God is fallen from heaven, and hath burned up the sheep and the servants, and consumed them. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee.
7,000 sheep gone. Go ahead.
While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, The Chaldeans made out 3 bands and fell upon the camels, and have carried them away. Yeah, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee.
There goes his 3,000 camels. Go ahead.
While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, Thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the 4 corners of the house. And it fell upon the young man, and they are dead. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee.
Now Job's children are taken from him. Let's see how Job reacted. How did Job react? Go ahead and read verse 20.
Then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshiped.
Job worshiped?
He worshiped.
This man lost almost everything but his wife. And he got up and worshiped? Go ahead.
And said, Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord have taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord.
The Lord gave, and the Lord have taken away. Right? Job understood that this was from the Lord. Go ahead.
In all this Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly.
Job did not charge God foolishly. Like you have some people that God don't care about me no more. He really don't care what happens to us. You have people saying that all the time. Is there really a God? If there was a God, why would this stuff happen? Why would these disasters that we see going on happen? You have people doing this all the time. Job did not charge God foolishly. Okay. Let's go and see why Job said the Lord did this. Let's go to Amos, the 3rd chapter. Amos chapter 3. What did Job understand? Amos chapter 3. We're going to read one verse, Amos 3 and verse 6. Amos 3 and verse 6. Go ahead, Brother Mark.
Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in a city, and the Lord have not done it?
Shall there be evil in a city, and the Lord have not done it? Lord causes all the evil stuff to occur. Job understood this. Let's go confirm this again. Let's go to Isaiah 45. Isaiah 45. Isaiah chapter 45. We're going to pick it up at verse 6. Isaiah 45 and verse 6. We're going to pick this up a little bit earlier. 45 and 6. Go ahead, Brother Mark.
that they may know from the rising of the sun and from the west that there is none beside me. I am the Lord, and there is none else. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil.
I make peace and create evil. Go ahead.
I, the Lord, do all these things.
I, the Lord, do all these things. So the Lord is the one that creates evil. If something bad happens to somebody or something bad happens in the world, the Lord is in control of it. Just like he told Satan, you have permission to touch Job. But I'm not permission to touch Job's substance, but don't touch him, right? Let's go into Job 2, back to Job 2. Back to Job 2. So Job made it through that first trial, right? He lost everything. Let's see what happens now. Job chapter 2. And when you get it, brother, pick it up at verse 1.
Again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said unto Satan, from whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it.
He's still on his job. He's trying to see who he gets permission to do something to. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man?
Again, the Lord is calling Job a perfect and upright man. Go ahead.
One that feareth God and escheweth evil, and still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause.
Thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. Because Job hadn't done anything for this to happen. But that doesn't mean there wasn't a reason for this to happen. See, that's the thing we have to understand. And this is what we're going to get out of this lesson. Okay? Job hadn't done anything physically. He hadn't sinned against the Lord or done anything for this to happen to him. A lot of times we're in that situation. We're trying to figure out, why is this happening to me? What have I done? You start doing a self-check. Man, did I slip up there? Oh, man, did I say something bad to somebody? Did I miss the Sabbath day? What did I do? Okay. Did I accidentally eat some unclean food? You try to figure out what you did to offend the Lord. Okay. Keep going.
Verse 4. And Satan answered the Lord and said, skin for skin, yeah, all that a man hath will he give for his life.
He's saying, he gave up everything else, because you didn't let me touch him. Skin for skin, Go ahead.
But put forth thine hand now and touch his bone and his flesh.
Again, put forth thine hand, the Lord's hand, right? And touch his bone and his flesh.
That's right.
Go ahead.
And he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, he is in thine hand.
You got him, but what?
But save his life.
But save his life. So you can touch Job now, but don't kill him. Do not kill him. Go ahead.
So went Satan forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. And he took him a potsherd.
Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot. That means from the bottom of his foot, he had these great, I don't know if you all have seen boils before, you've had them, these great big pustule-like sores that burst open with pus, and they hurt from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. So they were all over his body, his face, everywhere. Go ahead.
And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal.
And he took a broken, you've seen a plot that you plant in, he took a broken potsherd, usually has a sharp edge, and he scraping himself with this, cutting the boils up and scraping them off of him. Pus everywhere. Could you imagine that? He's scraping his face, scraping his back,
Right.
Go ahead.
And he sat down among the ashes. Then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse God and die.
Now, who is this coming from?
His wife.
Who is working through his wife now?
Satan.
Curse God and die. Go ahead.
But he said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? shall we receive good at the hand of God?
Shall we receive good at the hand of God? Go ahead.
And shall we not receive evil?
And shall we not receive evil at the hand of God? Go ahead.
And all this did not Job sin with his lips.
Job did not sin with his lips, right? What about with his thoughts? What was Job thinking at this point? What was he thinking? Go ahead.
Now, when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that was come upon him, they came every one from his own place. Eliphaz and the Temanite.
Eliphaz the Temanite. Now, Teman is Edom. That's Edom. So this was an Edomite. Eliphaz the Temanite. Go ahead.
And Bildad the Shuhite.
The Shuhite, that's from Shua, Abraham and Keturah, from Abraham's wife Keturah. Shua. Go ahead.
And Zophar the Naamathite.
Zophar the Naamathite, that's from Naamah, which is a city of Judah. Okay? These are Job's 3 friends that came to visit him. Go ahead.
Well, they had made an appointment together to come to mourn with him and to comfort him. And when they lifted up their eyes afar off and knew him not.
Now they lifted up their eyes and they saw Job covered with all these boils and pus. They looked at his face, they didn't even know what, man, is that Job? What happened when they saw him?
They lifted up their voice and wept, and they rent every one his mantle.
They started crying. Man, look at Job. Started crying. They tore their clothes off of him and sprinkled dust in their head. Go ahead.
And sprinkled dust upon their heads toward heaven.
Go ahead.
So they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and none spake a word unto him, for they saw that his grief was very great.
So they sat down with this man for 7 days, and nobody said nothing. That's how much pain Job was in. That's how much suffering he was going through. Nobody couldn't think of a word to say. You've seen people sick, and you just don't know what to say to them. You're like, man, I can't believe this brother. I can't believe this sister is in this condition. Man, how do I comfort this person? What do I say to him? What words can I find to tell this brother, how sorry I am for him? This sister, how sorry I am with what this happened to him. Okay. And Job's suffering all this time. And finally he breaks. Let's go into Job, the 3rd chapter. After 7 days of suffering, he breaks. Job 3, let's start at verse 1. Go ahead.
After this opened Job his mouth and cursed his day.
And the first thing he does is curse his day he was born. Go ahead.
And Job spake and said, let the day perish wherein I was born.
Let the day perish wherein I was born. Let me not be born. I wish I was never born. Go ahead.
And the night in which it was said, there is a man child conceived. Let that day be darkness. Let not God regard it from above.
Don't let God even have this day there. Let him not regard it. Go ahead.
Neither let the light shine upon it. Let darkness and the shadow of death stain it. Let a cloud dwell upon it. Let the blackness of the day terrify it. As for that night, let darkness seize upon it. Let it not be joined unto the days of the year.
Don't even let it exist. Don't let that day, that March 22nd, don't let it be here. Don't let it be in the calendar. Go ahead.
Let it not come into the number of the months.
Skip down to verse 11 and continue.
Why died I not from the womb?
Why didn't I die from the womb? Why was I not stillborn? Go ahead.
Why did I not give up the ghost when I came out of the belly? Why did the knees prevent me? Or why the breast?
Why did not the knees prevent me? Why did the knees prevent me? Why did my mother open up her legs and allow me to come out? Why did she lock the knees and keep me from coming out? Your brothers, they got wives. Y'all know when sisters lock them knees, ain't nothing coming in and ain't nothing going out. But that's a subject for another time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Why didn't the knees prevent me? Go ahead.
Or why the breast that I should suck?
Why did my mother allow me to suck her breast so that I would live and be nourished? Go ahead.
For now should I have lain still and been quiet.
He said, I would have lain still and been quiet. Right? Go ahead.
I should have slept. Then had I been at rest.
I should have slept and I would have been at rest. I wouldn't be suffering all this stuff now. Skip down to verse 20 and go ahead.
Wherefore is the light given to him that is in misery, and life unto the bitter in soul.
Now, Job asked a question. Why are people that are suffering allowed to continue to live? Why are they allowed to live? Go ahead.
Which long for death, but it cometh not, and dig for it more than for hid treasures, which rejoice exceedingly and are glad when they can find the grave. Why is light given to a man whose way is hid, and whom God hath hedged in?
He said, God has hedged in. Now, Job is starting to slip up a little bit now. Okay? I want you all to start paying attention to this. He said, God has hedged this man in. So he's starting to find fault with God now. Okay? Go ahead.
For my sighing cometh before I eat, and my roarings are poured out like the waters.
Job said, I can't even eat. I'm in so much pain. Go ahead.
For the thing which I greatly feared has come upon me.
The thing which I greatly feared has come upon me. Go ahead.
And that which I was afraid of is come unto me.
And that which I was afraid of is come unto me. Let's go take a look at something real quick. Let's go into Psalm 51. Psalm 51. Because David had something that he was afraid had happened to him, or would happen to him. Psalms chapter 51. This is something that I think all of us are afraid of. Psalms 51. We're going to read verse 1, then we're going to skip down. Psalm 51 and verse 1. Go ahead.
Have mercy upon me, O God, according to thy loving kindness, according unto the multitude of thy tender mercies. Blot out my transgressions.
Blot out my transgressions. Skip down to verse 10 and go ahead.
Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Cast me not away from thy presence.
Cast me not away from thy presence.
And take not thy Holy Spirit from me.
And take not thy Holy Spirit from me. This is the fear that Job had. That God had cast him away. That which I greatly feared has come upon me. Okay, let's go back to Job 4. Back to Job chapter 4. Job chapter 4. Now let's see, he had these three friends come down. Let's see if they have any words of comfort for Job. You know, Job, you're suffering, you know, hang in there, brother. You know, things going to be okay. Let's see what happens. Eliphaz starts out. Let's go to Job 4, verse 1. Job 4 and verse 1.
Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, if we essay to commune with thee, wilt thou be grieved?
Job, if we try to talk to you, will it upset you? You know, if we try to say something, you're not gonna get upset, are you, bro? Go ahead.
But who can withhold himself from speaking?
But I got to say something, Job. I got to. You know, I can't just stand here and look at you and not say something. Skip down to verse 6. Let's see what he said. Verse 6.
Is not this thy fear?
Is not this thy fear? Is this what you're afraid of right here, Job? Go ahead.
Thy confidence, thy hope, and the uprightness of thy ways?
Aren't you afraid that you may not be as upright as you think you are? Ain't that what you're afraid of? Go ahead.
Remember, I pray thee, whoever perished, being innocent.
See, you can't be innocent. So whoever has this happen to, if they were innocent, whoever perished, being innocent. So he's accusing Job of something. Go ahead.
Or where were the righteous cut off?
When you ever see the righteous cut off, that's what's happened to you, Job. Go ahead.
Even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same.
You reaping what you sow, Job. You're reaping what you sowed. Go ahead.
By the blast of God they perish, and by the breath of his nostrils are they consumed.
God is punishing you for a reason. Skip down to verse 12. Go ahead.
Now a thing was secretly brought to me, and mine ear received a little thereof. In thoughts from the visions of the night, when deep sleep falleth on men, fear came upon me and trembling, which made all my bones to shake. Then a spirit passed before my face. The hair of my flesh stood up. It stood still, but I could not discern the form thereof. An image was before mine eyes. There was silence, and I heard a voice saying, shall mortal man be more just than God?
Can a mortal man be more just than God? Go ahead.
Shall a man be more pure than his maker?
These are some good questions, right? Real good questions. Okay. Let's go to 5. Let's see what Eliphaz continues to tell Job. Okay. So we don't see him giving him any words of comfort so far. He's telling him he reaped what he sowed, that his uprightness is lacking. Let's go to Job 5 and pick it up at verse 17. Job 5 and 17. Go ahead.
Behold, happy is the man whom God correcteth. Therefore despise not thou the chastening of the Almighty.
So Eliphaz is telling Job that God is chastening you. He's spanking you. He's correcting you. Go ahead.
For he maketh sore and bindeth up. He woundeth, and his hands make whole.
He's saying, yeah, he's whooping you and it's hurting now, but it's going to help. He's whooping you for your own good, Job. That's what he's doing. Because your uprightness is not there. Let's see how Job responds to this. This nice friend that came to comfort him. Go to Job 6, chapter 6, and pick it up at verse 1. Job 6 and verse 1. Go ahead.
But Job answered and said, oh, that my grief were thoroughly weighed, and my calamity laid in the balances together. For now it would be heavier than the sand of the sea. Therefore my words are swallowed up.
He said, only if somebody could realize how much I'm going through, if my grief were thoroughly weighed. Go ahead.
For the arrows of the Almighty are within me. The poison whereof drinketh up my spirit. The terrors of God do set themselves in array against me.
He said, the arrows of the Almighty are within me. So again, he's saying the Lord is doing this to me. The Lord is torturing me. He's punishing me. Skip down to verse 8 and continue.
Oh, that I might have my requests, and that God would grant me the thing that I long for. Even that it would please God to destroy me, that he would let loose his hand and cut me off.
He said, I wish God would just kill me. I wish God would just kill me. Go ahead.
Then should I yet have comfort? Yeah, I would harden myself in sorrow.
I'm sorry. Skip down to verse 12 and continue.
It is my strength and the strength of stones, or is my flesh of brass? Is not my help in me, and is wisdom driven quite from me?
He said, am I made out of stone? Am I made out of brass and steel? Go ahead.
To him that is afflicted, pity should be showed from his friend.
He's saying I should be getting pity from you all. I'm afflicted. Go ahead.
For he forsaketh the fear of the Almighty.
But he said, you forsaking the fear of Almighty. What's the fear of the Lord?
Beginning of wisdom.
The beginning of wisdom. So he's saying, Eliphaz, you don't have any wisdom. You have no wisdom. You have forsaken the fear of the Lord. Go ahead and continue to read.
My brethren have dealt deceitfully as a brook, and as the stream of brooks they pass away, which are blackish by reason of the ice, wherein the snow is hid.
I'm sorry. Stop. Go to Job 8. Job 8 now. I'm sorry. Job 8. Let's go to Job 8. We're going to pick it up at verse 1. Let's see if his other friends have anything to say that's going to comfort Job. Job 8 and verse 1. Now this is Bildad. Job 8 and verse 1. Go ahead.
Then answered Bildad the Shuhite and said, how long wilt thou speak these things? And how long shall the words of thy mouth be like a strong wind? Doth God pervert judgment, or doth the Almighty pervert justice? If thy children have sinned against him, and he have cast them away.
Now, Bildad is saying that Job's kids sinned. I don't think Bildad had to be standing too close to Job. You talking about somebody's kids, you know, you're going to get hit. He might have hit him with that pot shirt he had in the hand. He said, your kids have sinned and God hath cast them away for their transgression. You go tell somebody at a funeral that your child is dead because they sinned, they did something wrong. And see what happens. See what happens to you. Go ahead, keep going.
If thou wouldest seek unto God betimes and make thy supplication to the Almighty, if thou wert pure and upright.
If thou wert pure and upright. If you were upright, man, Job, go ahead.
Surely now he would awake for thee and make the habitation of thy righteousness prosperous.
See, God would restore you back to where you were if you were pure and upright. You wouldn't be suffering this long time. Go ahead.
Though thy beginning was small, yet thy latter end should greatly increase. For inquire, I pray thee.
Though thy beginning was small, yet thy latter end should greatly increase. You would be restored back. Skip down to verse 11. Go ahead.
Can the rush grow up without mire? Can the flag grow without water? Whilst it is yet in its gent greenness and not cut down, it withereth before any other herb. So are the paths of all that forget God.
So he's saying you suffering the same thing as if, just like the flowers and the reeds that wither away. He said you have forgotten God. So are the paths that all that forget God. Go ahead.
And the hypocrite's hope shall perish.
He's calling Job a hypocrite. You are a hypocrite, Job. Skip down to verse 20.
Behold, God will not cast away a perfect man.
Behold, God will not cast away a perfect man. Wait a minute. Was Bildad around when the Lord told Satan, you know, have you considered my servant Job a perfect and upright man?
No.
So all these accusations, who are they coming through?
Satan.
Who are Job's friends working for now? Read that 20th verse again.
Behold, God will not cast away a perfect man, neither will he help the evildoers.
Neither will he help the evildoers. He will not cast away a perfect man. Let's go see who the hypocrite is. Let's go into Matthew chapter 7. Let's see who the real hypocrite is. Bildad accused Job of being a hypocrite. Let's see what Jesus says about Matthew chapter 7. We're going to pick this up at verse 1. Matthew 7 and verse 1. Go ahead.
Judge not that ye be not judged.
Judge not that ye be not judged. His friends are judging Job. They don't know what happened to him, why he's in that situation, but they got their own opinion of why that's happened. You know, we do that sometimes ourselves. That brother must have done, that sister must have done something, else she wouldn't be in that situation that she in. That brother had to have done something, you know, for this to happen to him.
Right.
Be careful about the judgment that we judge. Go ahead.
For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye?
Go ahead.
Or how would thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye? Thou hypocrite.
What did Jesus call you?
Thou hypocrite.
Hypocrite. So this is what Bildad and Eliphaz are doing. They're judging Job and they don't know why he's in the situation he's in. You know, St. John, the 7th chapter, verse 24 says, judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment is according to the laws of God, not according to appearance, as Jesus said in John 7. He said, judge not according to appearance, but judge righteous judgment. You don't look at somebody's situation and figure, well, this is why this is happening, because you don't know. We have no clue as to why this is happening. Nobody's there in this conversation with Satan and God, but Satan and the angels. That's it. So we can't see what God is doing or why he's allowing this to happen.
Right.
Finish that 5th verse.
First cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye.
Let's go to Luke 18, because Jesus spoke a parable about this type of judgment. Let's go to Luke 18. Luke chapter 18. We're going to pick it up at verse 9. Luke 18 and verse 9. Go ahead, Brother Mark.
And he spake this parable unto certain which trusted in themselves that they were righteous and despised others.
Which trusted in themselves that they were righteous and despised others. Isn't this what we're reading about with Bildad and Eliphaz? Go ahead.
2 men went up into the temple to pray, the one a Pharisee and the other a publican. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, God, I thank thee that I am not as other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican.
Even as this publican here. I ain't like him. I thank God.
Right.
Go ahead.
I fast twice in the week.
Oh,
I
man,
give tithes.
I pay my tithes. I fast twice in a week. I'm at church every Saturday. Go ahead.
I give tithes of all that I possess.
I give all my tithes. Go ahead.
And the publican, standing afar off, would not lift up so much as his eyes unto heaven, but smote upon his breast, saying, God be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other.
What did Jesus say? This man went down to his house justified rather than the other. Be careful about how you're looking at people and judging them. Don't have a self-righteous judgment on people.
Right.
You know, no matter what the book say about being over-righteous. Go ahead and finish that.
For everyone that exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted.
He that humbleth himself shall be exalted. Let's go back to Job, this time chapter 9. Let's go back to Job. Because Eliphaz has said that God will not cast away a perfect man. Let's see how Job responded to that. You know, Job chapter 9 and verse 1. Go ahead, Brother Mark.
Then Job answered and said, I know it is so of a truth.
He said, Job said, I know this. I know that's true. God won't cast away a perfect man. But what? Go ahead.
But how should man be just with God?
And how can a man be just with God? Go ahead.
If he will contend with him, he cannot answer him 1 of 1,000. He is wise in heart and mighty in strength. Who hath hardened himself against them and hath prospered?
He said God is wise in heart. See, you can't ask him any question that he don't know. You can't contend with him mentally, and he's mighty in strength. You can't contend with him physically.
Right.
Who can overpower him? He said, who hath hardened himself against him and hath prospered? Nobody. Nobody. Skip down to verse 11 and go ahead.
Lo, he goeth by me, and I see him not. He passeth on also, but I perceive him
He said,
not.
I can't even see this guy. How am I going to fight with him? How am I going to contend with him? Go ahead.
Behold, he taketh away, and who can hinder him?
He take away, and who's going to stop him? Finish that.
Who will say unto him, what doest
And
thou?
how are you going to ask God, what are you doing? Why you did that? Who's going to ask him that? Skip down to verse 16. Go ahead.
If I had called and he had answered me, yet would I not believe that he had hearkened unto my voice?
Go ahead.
For he breaketh me with a tempest, and multiplieth my wounds without cause. He will not suffer me to take my breath, but filleth me with bitterness.
Now he's accusing God of being a bully. He's can't fight with him because he's more powerful than me. So he's doing all this stuff to me. He's bullying me. Go ahead.
If I speak of strength, lo, he is strong. And if of judgment, who shall set me a time to plead? If I justify myself, mine own mouth shall condemn me. If I say I am perfect, it shall also prove me perverse.
He said, if I justify myself, mine own mouth shall condemn me. If I say I am perfect, my mouth is going to prove me perverse because no man is perfect, right? Job acknowledging this. He said, I'd be lying if I said I was perfect. Go ahead.
Though I were perfect, yet would I not know my soul, I would despise my
He
life.
said, even if I were perfect in this situation I'm in now, I wouldn't know my life. I still want to die. Go ahead and finish.
This
Verse
is
20.
one thing, therefore I said it. He destroyed the perfect and the wicked.
He said, the Lord destroys the perfect and the wicked. The Lord destroys the perfect and the wicked. Skip down to verse 34. Go ahead.
Let him take his rod away from me, and let not his fear terrify me. Then would I speak and not fear him, but it is not so with me.
Job said, if God would just let up, he said, I would not be afraid to speak to him. If he would just let up. Let's go to Ecclesiastes, the 8th chapter, because Solomon has something concerning this. Okay? Solomon has something to say concerning this. Ecclesiastes, chapter 8. Okay. As Job is suffering, he said God is afflicting him without cause. He's doing all this. Let's see what Solomon had to say concerning this. Ecclesiastes 8, we're going to pick this up at verse 1. Ecclesiastes 8 and 1. Go ahead, Brother Mark.
Who is as the wise man, and who knoweth the interpretation of a thing? A man's wisdom maketh his face to shine, and the boldness of his face shall be changed. I counsel thee to keep the king's commandment, and that in regard of the oath of God. Be not hasty to go out of his sight. Stand not in an evil thing, for he doeth whatsoever pleaseth him.
Say the king does whatever pleases him, right? Go ahead.
Where the word of God, where the word of a king is, there is power. And who may say unto him, what doest thou?
Who's going to tell a king, what are you doing? He makes a decision, he makes a ruling. Who's going to question him? Who's going to ask him, why are you doing this? Go ahead.
Whoso keepeth the commandment shall feel no evil thing, and a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment.
Solomon said, a wise man's heart discerneth both time and judgment. Just like Job did in the early part. He said, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away.
Yeah.
He discerns both time and judgment. There is a reason for this. Go ahead.
Because to every purpose there is time and judgment. Therefore, the misery of man is great upon him.
Every purpose there is a time and judgment. There's a reason for it. Everything that happens. And a wise man discerns this. Skip down to verse 14.
There is a vanity which is done upon the earth, that there be just men, unto whom it happeneth according to the work of the wicked.
He said there be just men, and stuff happens to them just like they were wicked men. We've seen this. You got a young boy going to school every day, studying hard. He come out of school and a stray bullet hits him and kills him.
Yeah.
And he was such a good student. Oh, he studied all the time. You know, he was helping his father at the hardware store. He was doing this. He was working 2 jobs, studying at night. Why did this happen to him? Go ahead.
Again, there be wicked men to whom it happeneth according to the work of the righteous.
You see, you got wicked people. They prospering in their wickedness. They sitting out here running drugs. Now they out in the Bahamas right now, sitting on the beach, enjoying the fruits of their labor, kicking it back. While some righteous man or woman is at work, trying to earn a living, barely struggling, getting through. See, these things happen. You know, why do they happen? A wise man discerneth time and judgment. We all know here that there's a time that the wicked are going to get their punishment, right? We know this. Wise man discern time and judgment. Let's back up to Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter.
You want me to finish?
Ecclesiastes 7. Pick this up at verse 13. 7 and 13. Go ahead.
Consider the work of God.
Consider the work of God. When stuff is happening, we don't understand, just take time to consider. Don't be accusatory. Don't find fault with the Lord and try to blame him for the things that are happening. Consider the work of God. There is a reason. We may not see it, but there's a reason for the suffering that we go through. Go ahead.
For who can make that straight which he hath made crooked? In the day of prosperity be joyful, but in the day of adversity consider.
In the day of prosperity, things going good, be joyful, be happy. Things are going well for you. He said, but in the day of adversity, consider the work. Hey, wait a minute. Something's happening here. I may not understand why it's happening, but consider. Don't find fault.
Right.
Don't be judgmental. Whether the adversity is happening to you or whether it's happening to somebody you know. Let's not judge unrighteously. Go ahead.
God also has set the one over against the other, to the end that man should find nothing after him.
He said, God has set the one against the other. You had good days, you had bad days. He just set the one against the other, right? Go ahead.
All things have I seen in the days of my vanity. There is a just man that perisheth in his righteousness.
We just read about that in Ecclesiastes 8. There's a just man that perisheth in his righteousness. He's doing everything he can to do what's right. She's doing all that she can to do what's right.
That's right.
And they wind up dying. You know, in fact, Isaiah 57 said, the righteous perish and no man layeth it to heart, that they're taken from the evil to come. Go ahead.
And there is a wicked man that prolongeth his life in his wickedness.
You see, when is this old, no good snake gonna die?
Okay.
Yeah, he's been evil since he was a kid.
Right.
But they prolong their life in their wickedness.
Yes, sir.
Let's go back to Job 10. Job 10. So we need to stop and consider when things are going on that we don't understand. Job 10. Let's see if Job is changing at all with all this accusation that's coming upon him. Job chapter 10. We're going to pick it up at verse 1. Job 10 and verse 1. Go ahead, Brother Mark.
My soul is weary of my life.
I am tired of living. I'm tired of living. Go ahead.
I will leave my complaint upon myself. I will speak in the bitterness of my soul.
He said, I'm going to speak in the bitterness of my suffering. I am suffering. I'm going to talk. Go ahead.
I will say unto God, do not condemn me. Show me wherefore thou contendest with me.
I will say unto God, don't condemn me. Show me why you doing this to me. Job is waxing bold here. Now his attitude's starting to change. It's starting to change. I want you all to notice this as we read through this. Skip down to verse 7. Go ahead.
Thou knowest that I am not wicked, and there is none that can deliver out of thine hand.
God, you know I'm not wicked. Go ahead.
Thine hands have made and fashioned me together round about. Yet thou dost destroy me.
Say, you made me and now you destroying me. Job's tone is getting a little, out of pocket. Like you don't talk to your dad and your mom like this, Go ahead.
Remember, I beseech thee that thou hast made me as the clay, and wilt thou bring me into dust again?
You say, have you forgotten I'm only made out of dust? Have you forgotten that? That was verse 9?
Yes. That was
Skip down to verse 20.
Are not my days few? Cease then, and let me alone.
God, leave me alone. See the way Job, his attitude has changed now?
Mm-hmm.
You can have people that accuse you of stuff and they'll push you to a certain point. Go ahead.
That I may take comfort a little, before I go whence I shall not return, even to the land of darkness and the shadow of death.
He said, leave me alone, Lord. Cease from me. I only got a few days left. Let me rest in peace. Let's go to Job 11. You had two friends that accused Job. Let's see, maybe this third one, I have some words of comfort for him. Job chapter 11. Job chapter 11. Let's pick this up at verse 1. Go ahead, Brother Mark.
Then answered Zophar the Naamathite and said, should not the multitude of words be answered? And should a man full of talk be justified?
Whoa, don't sound like words of comfort here. Job, you talking too much. You bumping your gums. Go ahead.
Should thy lies make men hold their peace?
Are you lying, Job? Just because you lying, you think I'm going to hold my peace? I'm not going to say something? Go ahead.
And when thou mockest, shall no man make thee ashamed?
You're mocking God, Job. So Zophar's accusing Job of talking too much, of lying, and of mocking God. Go ahead.
For thou hast said, my doctrine is pure, and I am clean in thine eyes.
You saying that you're pure, you're clean? Go ahead.
But oh, that God would speak and open his lips against thee, and that he would show thee the secrets of wisdom, that they are double to that which is. Know therefore that God exacteth of thee less than thine iniquity deserveth.
He's saying that God is punishing you less than what you deserved. You deserve to be punished twice as much, Joe. You ain't suffering enough.
Right.
Go ahead.
Canst thou by searching find out God? Canst thou find out the Almighty unto perfection? It is as high as heaven. What canst thou do? Deeper than hell. What canst thou know? The measure thereof is longer than the earth and broader than the sea. If he cut off and shut up or gather together, then who can hinder him? For he knoweth vain men.
He said, God knows a vain man when he see one. He calling Job vain. Go ahead.
He seeth wickedness also. Will he not then consider it?
He's saying he see how wicked you are, Job. Skip down to verse 14.
If iniquity be in thine hand, put it far away.
He said, Job, put away the sin that you're doing. Just put it away. Stop it. Stop sinning, Job.
Right.
Go ahead.
And let not wickedness dwell in thy tabernacles.
And stop being wicked, Job. Just put it away. Don't let it dwell with you.
Right.
Go into Job 12 now. Job 12. Let's see how Job responds now. Job 12. Go ahead.
And Job answered and said, no doubt, but ye are the people, and wisdom shall die with you.
He said, y'all think y'all the only ones with some sense. Yeah, when y'all die, ain't nobody gonna be smart no more. It's gonna die, wisdom gonna die with you. Go ahead.
Right. But I have understanding as well as you. I am not inferior to
He
you.
said, I got some sense too. Go ahead.
Yeah, who knoweth not such things as these? I am as one mocked of his neighbor, who calleth upon God, and he answereth
He
him.
said, I'm just like somebody being mocked by his neighbor. He says, y'all remember how Elijah mocked the prophets of Baal?
Mm-hmm.
They were called upon Baal, and Elijah was like, maybe you should yell louder. Maybe he's
Right.
asleep.
Right. Yeah.
He said, I'm like, man, I'm calling on God. I'm saying, God. And my neighbor's like, yeah, what do you want? Lord, please. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Mm.
He said, I'm just being mocked. I'm like being mocked by my neighbor. Go ahead.
Who calleth upon God, and he answereth him. The just upright man is laughed to
He
scorn.
said, I'm being laughed at by my friends, by my neighbors. Go ahead.
He that is ready to slip with his feet is as a lamp despised in the thought of him that is at ease.
He said, y'all at ease and y'all sitting here looking at my situation and you despising me because you comforted. You're not suffering like I'm suffering. So it's easy for you to sit back and judge me
Right.
because you're not going through it. Go ahead.
The tabernacles of robbers prosper, and they that provoke God are secure, into whose hand God bringeth abundantly. But ask now the beasts, and they shall teach thee, and the fowls of the air, and they shall tell thee. Or speak to the earth, and it shall teach thee, and the fishes of the sea shall declare unto thee. Who knoweth not in all these that the hand of the Lord hath wrought this?
He's saying, just look around and ask the beasts and all the fish and the fowls and everything, even the earth. Everybody knows that the Lord is bringing this on me.
Right.
That his hand had caused this. It's not something that I did.
Mm-hmm.
That the Lord is bringing this on me. What verse are we?
At 10.
We're at 10.
Mm-hmm.
Skip down to verse 14.
We haven't read 10 yet.
We haven't 10. Oh, okay, read verse 10.
In whose hand is the soul of every living thing and the breath of all mankind?
In whose hand is the soul of every living thing? God has power over everything.
Mm.
Skip down to 14 and continue.
Behold, he breaketh down, and it cannot be built again. He shutteth up a man, and there can be no opening.
Break it down, and there can be no building up again. What the Lord does, you can't change. Go into Job 13 now. Job 13. Job 13. Because they have really pushed him, and Job goes too far now. Job 13, verse 1. Go ahead, Brother Mark.
Lo, mine eye have seen all this. Mine ear hath heard and understood it. What ye know, the same do I know also. I am not inferior unto you.
Job saying again, look, I got sense just like you got sense. Go ahead.
Surely I would speak to the Almighty, and I desire to reason with God.
He said, surely I would speak to the Almighty. I desire to reason with God. Now he wants to question God. He didn't went too far now. Go ahead.
But ye are forgers of lies. Ye are all physicians of no value.
He said, you all are no good friends. Y'all ain't no help to me. No comfort whatsoever. Right. You sitting up here lying.
Right.
You're not giving me any comfort as a friend, physician. Go ahead.
Oh, that ye would altogether hold your peace, and it should be your wisdom.
If you would just shut up. Just shut up, and that you would be smart. Just shut up. Go ahead.
Skip 13.
Where we at?
That was the end of 5.
5. Skip down to verse 13 and go ahead.
Hold your peace. Let me alone, that I may speak, and let come on me what will.
He said, I'm going to speak, and whatever happens, happens. Go ahead.
Wherefore do I take my flesh in my teeth, and put my life in mine hand?
He said, why am I taking this chance? Skip down to verse 18.
Behold now, I have ordered my cause. I know that I shall be justified.
He said, I'm doing this because I have ordered my cause. I know that I am right. I know I'm right. Skip down to verse 21 and go ahead.
Withdraw thine hand far from me, and let not thy dread make me afraid.
He said, talking to God, withdraw thy hand from me, and let not thy dread make me afraid. Go ahead.
Then call thou, and I will answer.
Then talk to me. Let me up out of this suffering and then call me and we going to talk, God. Go ahead.
Or let me speak and answer thou me.
Or let me talk and then you answer me. Job is waxing bold here, isn't
Yes,
he?
he is.
Keep going.
How many are mine iniquities and sins?
What sin do you find in me, God? How many are my iniquities and sins? What have I done? Go ahead.
Make me to know my transgression
Tell
and
me
my
what
sin.
I've done. Go ahead.
Wherefore hidest thou thy face?
Why are you hiding, Lord? Go ahead.
And holdest me for thine enemy.
And then you're going to make me an enemy? You're going to you hiding in the house? And then you're going to call me an enemy?
Right.
Let's go to Job 19. Job 19. You all see the transition that Job went through from the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away, to now he's waxing bold. Now he wants to question God.
Yeah.
Job 19, verse 1. Go ahead, Brother Mark.
Then Job answered and said, how long will ye vex my soul and break me in pieces with words?
How long you going to sit here and talk to me and make me suffer? This is just vexation to me. Go ahead.
These 10 times have ye reproached me.
10 times have ye reproached me. Go ahead.
Ye are not ashamed that ye make yourselves strange to me.
You're supposed to be my friends. And you sitting here accusing me of something. Go ahead.
And be it indeed that I have erred, mine error remaineth with myself.
He said, if I have done something wrong, it hasn't affected anybody but me. My error remaineth with me. You know, I haven't done anything that affected that caused somebody else a problem. If it's something that I've done, it stayed with me. I have not done anything that harmed nobody else. Go ahead.
If indeed ye will magnify yourselves against me and plead against me my reproach, know now that God hath overthrown me and hath compassed me with his net.
He said, God didn't overthrow me and he got me in a net. He didn't trap me. Go ahead.
Behold, I cry out of wrong.
I cry out of wrongs. I'm being wronged here. Go ahead.
But I am not heard.
And nobody's listening. Go ahead.
I cry aloud, but there is no judgment.
I'm crying out and I'm getting no judgment. I'm not getting a just due. Nobody's coming to listen to my cause. Go ahead.
He hath fenced up my way that I cannot pass, and he hath set darkness in my paths. He hath stripped me of my glory and taken the crown from my head. He hath destroyed me on every side, and I am gone.
He had destroyed me on every side, and I am gone. He said, the Lord didn't just cut me off for no reason. He didn't kill me. He destroyed me. Go ahead.
And mine hope hath he removed like a tree.
I have no hope left. Skip down to verse 13.
He hath put my brethren far from me, and mine acquaintance are verily estranged from me.
He said, nobody of my family members want to be around me now. They didn't forsaken me. Go ahead.
My kinsfolk have failed, and my familiar friends have forgotten me.
My familiar friends, which is them, said they have forgotten me. They forgot the type of person I was. Why we were friends. Go ahead. Oh, that was 14? Skip down to verse 19.
All my inward friends abhorred me, and they whom I loved are turned against me.
They whom I've loved have turned against me. Go ahead.
My bone cleaveth to my skin and to my flesh, and I am escaped with the skin of my teeth. Have pity upon me. Have pity upon me, O ye my friends, for the hand of God hath touched me.
He's saying, y'all have pity on me. God hath done this stuff to me. Have pity on me. Skip down to Job 22. Job 22, chapter 22. As Eliphaz kicks back in. Let's see what Eliphaz has to say. Job 22 and verse 1. Job 22 and verse 1. Go ahead.
Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, can a man be profitable unto God, as he that is wise may be profitable unto himself? Is it any pleasure to the Almighty that thou art righteous? Or is it gain to him that thou makest thy ways perfect?
He's saying you making your ways perfect. You're saying that you're perfect, Job. Go ahead.
Mhm. Will he reprove thee for fear of thee? Will he enter with thee into judgment? Is not thy wickedness great and thine iniquities infinite?
He's saying, Job, you got some wickedness. You got some great wickedness. Go ahead.
For thou hast taken a pledge from thy brother for naught, and stripped the naked of their clothing.
See, you done did all this stuff on the side, Job. You got some secret sins going on. See? You done took a pledge from your brother for no reason. Go ahead.
Right. Thou hast not given water to the weary to drink, and thou hast withholden bread from the hungry.
You ain't helped the poor. Go ahead.
But as for the mighty man, he had the earth, and the honorable man dwelt in it.
He said, the mighty man, you haven't given him nothing. He just had the dirt of the ground. He said, and the honorable man, he's dead. The honorable man, the old man, the person that should have gotten honor, he dwelling in the dirt. He's dead. Go ahead.
Thou hast sent widows away empty.
You didn't turn away the widows. Go ahead.
And the arms of the fatherless have been broken.
You didn't help the fatherless. Go ahead.
Therefore snares are round about thee, and sudden fear troubleth thee.
This is why this is happening to you, Job. This is why this is happening to you. What verse are we?
We at verse 11.
Verse 11. Go ahead.
Or darkness that thou canst not see, and abundance of waters cover thee.
He's saying this is why this is happening to you. Skip down to verse 23.
If thou return to the Almighty.
If thou return to the Almighty. He said, you didn't depart it, Joe. Return. Start doing right. Go ahead.
Thou shalt be built up. Thou shalt put away iniquity far from thy tabernacles.
You're going to put this sin away from you? Go ahead.
Then shalt thou lay up gold as dust, and the gold of Ophir as the stones of the brooks.
You're going to prosper again, Joe. Just put the sin away. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Almighty shall be thy confident, thy defense, and thou shalt have plenty of silver. For then shalt thou have thy delight in the Almighty, and shall lift up thy face unto God.
He said, then you'll be able to you'll be restored back, and you'll be able to lift your face up. Let's go into Job 23. Job 23. Let's see what Job answered Eliphaz. Go ahead.
Then Job answered and said, even today is my complaint bitter. My stroke is heavier than my groaning. Oh, that I knew where I might find him.
Oh, that I knew where I could find God. Go ahead.
That I might come even to his seat.
He said, I would come even to his seat. I would walk right up to him. Go ahead.
I would order my cause before him.
Again, Job said, I would order my cause before him. Go ahead.
And fill my mouth with arguments.
I would fill my mouth with arguments. I would argue with him. Go ahead.
I would know the words which he would answer me.
I would know what I already know what he's going to tell me. Right?
That's right.
Go ahead.
And understand what he would say unto me. Will he plead against me with his great power? But he would put strength in me.
He said, after I argue with God, that he would acknowledge that I was right. Go ahead.
There the righteous might dispute with him. So should I be delivered forever from my judge.
Let's skip down to verse 11.
My foot hath held his steps. His way have I kept and not declined. Neither have I gone back from the commandment of his lips. I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food.
Job said, I have done everything I was supposed to do. He said, my foot have held his steps. He said, neither have I gone back from the commandment of his lips. He said, I have been keeping the Lord's commandments. There is no reason for me to be going through this. Let's get down to Job 27. Job 27. Chapter 27. Verse 1, Job 27, verse 1. Go ahead.
Moreover, Job continued his parable and said, as God liveth, who have taken away my judgment, and the Almighty who hath vexed my soul, all the while my breath is in me, and the Spirit of God is in my nostrils. My lips shall not speak wickedness, nor my tongue utter deceit. God forbid that I should justify
He
you.
said, I'm not going to justify you all. Go ahead.
Till I die, I will not remove mine integrity
I am
from
innocent. I am not going to say I did something wrong. Job was insistent that he's walking right. He has done nothing for this to happen to him. Go ahead.
me. My righteousness I hold fast, and I will not let it
He
go.
said, my righteousness I'm holding on to. I'm not going to let it go. I don't care what you all say. I know I'm right. I haven't done anything. What verse are we?
With the end of 6, verse 6.
Finish that.
My heart shall not reproach me so long as I live.
Skip down to verse 8 and go ahead.
For what is the hope of the hypocrite, though he hath gained? Will God taketh away his soul?
He said, if I was a hypocrite, what would be my hope? He said, if I had gained something by being a hypocrite, go ahead.
Will God hear his cry when trouble cometh upon him? Will he delight himself in the Almighty? Will he always call upon God? I will teach you by the hand of God that which is with the Almighty will I not conceal. Behold, all ye yourselves have seen it. Why then are ye thus altogether vain? This is the portion of a wicked man with God.
Job said, this is the portion of the wicked man with God. This is what happens to him. Go ahead.
And the heritage of oppressors, which they shall receive of the Almighty.
This is what their inheritance is. Heritage is something that happens later. Go ahead.
If his children be multiplied, it is for the sword.
Say if his children are multiplied, they gonna get what's coming to them. Go ahead.
And his offspring should not be satisfied with bread. Those that remain of him shall be buried in death, and his widows shall not weep. Though he heap up silver as the dust,
Even if he gets rich, he's prospering. Go ahead.
and prepare raiment as the clay, he may prepare it, but the just shall put it on,
Said the just gonna wind up with it eventually. Go ahead.
and the innocent shall divide the
And
silver.
the innocent shall divide the silver. He said, this is the portion with the wicked. He said, they eventually come to nothing. Eventually, there's a time for this. Wise man discerneth time and judgment. Let's go to Job 29. Job chapter 29. Because Job didn't got to the point where he didn't got self-righteous. Job 29, verse 1. Job 29 and verse 1. Go ahead, Brother Mark.
Moreover, Job continued his parable and said, oh, that I were as in months past, as in the days when God preserved me, when his candle shined upon my head, and when his light I walked through darkness.
Job said, I wish I was back before all this stuff happened to me. Go ahead.
As I was in the days of my youth, when the secret of God was upon my tabernacle, when the Almighty was yet with me, when my children were about me.
Skip down to verse 8 and continue.
The young man saw me and hid
He
themselves.
said, I was held in honor among the young men. You know, I walked through the streets, the young men, hey, what's up, Joe? What's happening, man? You know, I was held in honor. Go ahead.
And the aged arose and stood up.
You know, the older people in the neighborhood, you know, they saw me, they, hey, Job, how's it going? Good to see you. You know, how's everything? They stood up. Go ahead.
The princes refrained talking and laid their hand on their mouth.
You see, everybody held their peace when I was around. Go ahead.
The nobles held their peace, and their tongue cleaved to the roof of their mouth. When the ear heard me, then it blessed me.
Everybody that heard me say, man, that's a smart brother there. You know, that's a good brother. You know, man, they blessed him. Go ahead.
And when the eye saw me, it gave witness to me. because I delivered the poor that cry, and the fatherless, and him that had none to help him. The blessing of him that was ready to perish came upon me, and I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy.
I took care of everybody. Go ahead.
I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My judgment was as a robe and a diadem, and I was eyes to the blind, and feet was I to the lame. I was a father to the poor, and the cause which I knew not I searched out.
He said, I was eyes to the blind. I was a father to the poor. I was feet to the lame. He said, and if there was something that was going on, if I didn't know about it, I searched it out. I tried to find out if there's a problem in the neighborhood. Let me go. What's going on? I searched it out. Go ahead.
And I break the jaws of the wicked and pluck the spoil out of his teeth.
He said, if there was somebody that was doing something wrong to somebody, I stopped them from doing it. I stopped them from doing it. Let's go into Job 31, because Job continues to run his pedigree and listed all his righteousness. Job 31. Pick it up at verse 1.
I made a covenant with mine eyes. When then should I think upon a maid?
He said, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? Why am I going to sit here and lust after these young girls? I promised my eyes I wasn't going to do this. Go ahead.
For what portion of God is there from above? And what inheritance of the Almighty from on high?
What is this going to get me? Go ahead and read.
Is not destruction to the wicked and a strange punishment to the workers of iniquity?
Said, how I'm going to wind up is with that strange punishment. And the lake of fire, people, is a strange punishment. You're being burned and not burned up. You're being eaten on by worms and not being consumed. That is a strange punishment. Go ahead.
Doth not he see my ways and count all my steps?
Say, the Lord is looking at me. I'm not going to do this thing. Go ahead.
If I have walked with vanity, or if my foot have hastened to deceit, let me be weighed in an even balance, that God may know mine integrity. He
said, if I have walked in any of this vanity, let me be weighed in an even balance, that God may know mine integrity, that I'm upright. Mine integrity I hold fast. Go ahead.
If my step have turned out of the way, and mine heart walked after mine eyes.
If I stepped out of the way and I went after what I lusted after. Go ahead.
And if any blot have cleaved to mine hands, then let me sow, and let another eat. Yeah, let my offspring be rooted out.
He said, let everything be rooted out from me. Let everything be taken away from me. Go ahead.
If mine heart have been deceived by a woman, or if I have laid wait at my neighbor's door.
If I've gone out and committed adultery, go ahead.
Then let my wife grind unto another.
Then let my wife grind unto another. Go ahead.
And let others bow down upon her.
Let others, not other, let others bow down. Let her have more than one affair.
Wow.
Go ahead.
But this is a heinous crime.
This is a heinous crime. Adultery is a heinous crime. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is an iniquity to be punished by the judges. For it is a fire that consumeth to destruction, and would root out all mine increase.
He said this would kill everything that I work for. Everything that I've been doing. Go ahead.
If I did despise the cause of my manservant or of my maidservant when they contended with me.
He said, if I despise my manservant or my maidservant, I got a worker for me. He came up to me with a cause. Mr. Cooper, I ain't making enough money. I ain't making enough money. I need a raise. Brother, you on the clock. You need to get back to work.
Right.
Go ahead.
What then shall I do when God riseth
he said,
up?
If I did that to him, how am I going to stand before God? Go ahead.
And when he visiteth, what shall I answer him? Did not he that made me in the womb make him? And did not one fashion us in the womb? If I have withheld the poor from their desire.
If I didn't help the poor, go ahead.
Or have caused the eyes of the widow to fail.
Widow needed help. If I didn't help her, go ahead.
Or if eating my morsel myself alone.
If I was selfish and didn't share, go ahead.
And the fatherless have not eaten thereof. For from my youth he was brought up with me, as with a father, and I have guided her from my mother's womb.
The fatherless son and the fatherless daughter, I raised them like they were my own. They grew up with me. That young girl that was there, she's an adult now. She grew up just like my daughter. That young boy, I took care of him. He grew up
Right.
just like my son. Go ahead.
If I have seen any perish for want of clothing, or any poor without covering,
I saw somebody that was in need. Go ahead.
if his loins have not blessed me, and if he were not warmed with the fleece of my sheep, if I have lifted up mine hand against the
If I
fatherless,
saw somebody that didn't have a father and took advantage of him, he ain't got nobody to protect him. You know,
right,
I can take advantage of him,
right.
like a lot of us do. Go ahead.
When I saw my help in the gate, then let mine arm fall from my shoulder blade, and mine arm be broken from the bone. For destruction from God was a terror to
He
me.
said, destruction from God was a terror to me. I feared God. I want to make sure I did everything that was right.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
And by reason of his highness, I could not endure. If I have made gold my hope,
He said, I didn't trust in riches. I haven't put my hope in money. Go ahead.
or have said to the fine gold, thou art my confidence, if I rejoice because my wealth was great, and because mine hand have gotten much,
He said, I didn't focus on that. Bible said, if riches be increased, think not about it. Go ahead.
if I beheld the sun when it shine, or the moon walking in the brightness,
I didn't get off into idolatry.
Mm.
I didn't get off into worshiping any pagan images. Go
Right.
ahead.
And my heart have been secretly enticed, or my mouth have kissed my hand, this also were an iniquity to be punished by the judge. For I should have denied the God that is
He said, if
above.
I had gotten off of the pagan, I would be denying God. Go ahead.
If I rejoice at the destruction of him that hated
He
me,
said, I didn't rejoice when somebody that was my enemy, something happened to him. Go ahead.
or lifted up myself when evil found him,
I wouldn't, oh, wow, I'm glad that no good son of a gun. I'm glad
right.
he finally got what was coming to him. Go ahead.
Neither have I suffered my mouth to sin by wishing a curse to his soul.
I didn't wish anything on him. I didn't say, man, I'll be glad when something happens to you. Go ahead.
If the men of my tabernacle said not, oh, that we had of his flesh, we could not be
I
satisfied.
didn't see the people in my household that were under my rule go hungry. They wasn't like, man, you know, we ain't got nothing to eat, man.
Right.
He's sitting up there eating good up there in his house. Go ahead.
The stranger did not lodge in the street, but I opened my doors to the traveler.
I helped the stranger that was visiting. Go ahead.
If I covered my transgressions as Adam by hiding mine iniquity in my bosom,
I didn't try to hide any sin. I didn't try to run. Go ahead. Go ahead.
did I fear a great multitude, or did the contempt of families terrify me, that I kept silence and went not out of the door?
If there was some trouble going on, I wasn't afraid to go out. I wouldn't sit back here and let somebody being jumped by somebody outside and not do anything. I didn't fear a great multitude. Go ahead.
Oh, that one would hear me. Behold, my desire is that the Almighty would answer me, and that mine adversary had written a book.
He said, my desire is that the Almighty would answer me, that mine adversary, he's calling God his enemy,
Yeah.
that my adversary had written a book. Let's go into Job 32. Skip down to Job chapter 32. See, so Job trying to justify he didn't ran his pedigree, and his friends ain't got nothing to say now. He didn't talk about all the righteous stuff he did, and he's sitting here, and another young man comes up. Go ahead. Verse 1, 32 and 1.
So these three men ceased to answer Job because he was righteous in his own
Job
eyes.
got righteous in his own eyes. I didn't did all this. I didn't did this for these people. I didn't did this to this. I never did this. I never did that. Go ahead.
Then was kindled the wrath of Elihu, the son of Barachel, the Buzite.
A Buzite, that comes from Nahor and Milcah, right? Nahor was Abraham's brother, I believe, right? Nahor and his wife Milcah. That's where Buz comes from, okay? This is Elihu the Buzite. Go ahead.
of the kindred of Ram. Against Job was his wrath kindled, because he justified himself rather than God.
Job, this is what Job's saying that. He's justifying himself rather than justifying God. Go ahead.
Also against his three friends was his wrath kindled, because they had found no answer and yet had condemned Job.
See, they condemning Job and they don't know why he's being in this situation. Go ahead.
Now Elihu had waited till Job had spoken, because they were elder than he. When Elihu saw that there was no answer in the mouth of these three men, then his wrath was kindled. And Elihu, the son of Baracho, the Buzite, answered and said, I am young, and ye are very old, wherefore I was afraid, and durst not show you mine opinion.
It's the way it used to be. The young folk wouldn't out-talk the older folk. Boy, we ain't got those days now.
Yeah.
But the young used to be respectful. You know, they let the elders talk. Go ahead.
I said, days should speak, and multitude of years should teach wisdom. But there is a spirit in man, and the inspiration of the Almighty giveth them understanding. Great men are not always wise, neither do the aged understand judgment.
The great men are not always wise. You take a look at the last 4 presidents we had.
Yeah.
They're not always wise, and neither do the aged understand judgment. Go ahead.
Therefore I said, hearken to me, I also will show mine opinion.
So Elihu is saying, listen to me, I'm going to tell you what my opinion is. Let's go into Job 33. Job 33. And pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead.
Wherefore, Job, I pray thee, hear my speeches and hearken to all my words. Behold, now I have opened my mouth, my tongue have spoken in my mouth. My words shall be of a brightness of my heart.
He said, my word shall be of the uprightness of my heart. Go ahead.
And my lips shall utter knowledge clearly.
And my lips shall utter knowledge clearly. Skip down to verse 8.
Surely thou hast spoken in mine hearing, and I have heard the voice of thy words, saying.
He says, surely you have spoken in mine hearing, and I have heard the voice of thy words, saying. Go ahead.
I am clean without transgression. I am innocent, neither is there iniquity in me. Behold, he findeth occasions against me. He counteth me for his enemy.
See, he called him his adversary, right? Go ahead.
He putteth my feet in the stocks. He marketh all my paths.
He said, I didn't heard you complain against God. Go ahead.
Behold, is this thou art
in this.
In this thou art not just.
In this you are not just, Job. Go ahead.
I will answer thee that God is greater than man.
God is greater than man. Who are you to accuse your maker? Keep going.
Why dost thou strive against him? For he giveth not account of any of his matters.
He don't give an account of what he's doing. Why should God have to give an account of what he's doing? Go ahead.
For God speaketh once, yea, twice, yet man perceiveth it not. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon man, and slumberings upon the bed. Then he openeth the ears of man and sealeth their instruction.
He said God's trying to communicate to man all the time. He's trying to give them instructions, and we don't perceive it. Go ahead.
That he may withdraw man from his purpose and hide pride from man.
Skip down to verse 27. Go ahead.
He looketh upon men, and if any say, I have sinned and perverted that which was right, and it profited me not, he will deliver his soul from going into the pit, and his life shall see the light. Lo, all these things worketh God oftentimes with man, to bring back his soul from the pit, to be enlightened with the light of the living.
He said the Lord does this all the time. If any man acknowledge their sin, he said he'll bring back their life from the pit. Go ahead.
Mark well, O Job, hearken unto me. Hold thy peace, and I will speak.
He said, mark well, O Job, hearken unto me, hold thy peace, and I will speak. Let him continue to speak. Let's go to Job 34. Because Elijah's saying, Job, God don't have to explain himself. Job 34, verse 5.
But Job has said, I am righteous, and God have taken away my judgment.
That's what we read, right? All this time. Job saying, I'm righteous. God hasn't given me a chance to be judged righteous. Go ahead.
Should I lie against my right? My wound is incurable
He
without
said,
transgression.
I'm not going to lie against my righteousness. This is what Job said. I maintain my integrity, right? I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I'm not right.
Right.
This is what Job said, right? He said, my wound is incurable without transgression. I'm being beat for no reason. Go ahead.
What man is like Job, who drinketh up scorning like water, which goeth in company with the workers of iniquity?
He said, Job, you didn't join yourself to the workers of iniquity. Go ahead.
And walketh with wicked men.
You walking with wicked men. You're doing the same thing that the wicked do. Go ahead.
For he hath said, it profiteth a man nothing that he should delight himself with God. Therefore hearken unto me, ye men of understanding. Far be it from God that he should do wickedness.
He said, far be it from God that he should do any wickedness. God can't do wickedness. If you're suffering, there is a reason for it. Go ahead.
And from the Almighty that he should commit iniquity.
The Lord don't commit iniquity. He don't commit sin. He don't commit unrighteousness. Go ahead.
For the work of a man shall he render unto him, and cause every man to find according to his ways. Yeah, surely God will not do wickedly.
Surely God will not do wickedly. Go ahead.
Neither will the Almighty pervert judgment.
And he doesn't pervert judgment. Go ahead.
Who have given him a charge over the earth.
Who gave him a charge? Who put him in control of the earth? Who gave him a charge over it? Go ahead.
Or who have disposed the whole world.
Who gave him the world? Who gave him all them planets and stars and everything up there? Go ahead.
If he set his heart upon man, if he gather unto himself his spirit and his breath, all flesh shall perish together, and man shall turn again unto dust.
If he decide, I want to end all this, it's gone. Everybody's gone. Go ahead.
If now thou hast understanding, hear this. Hearken to the voice of my words. Shall even he that hateth right govern?
Shall he that hated right govern? Go ahead.
And wilt thou condemn him that is most just?
You going to condemn God, the most just person, the most just being? What's wrong with you, Job? Go ahead.
Is it fit to say to a king, thou art wicked?
You going to say to a king, you're wicked? You going to come before a king and say, hey, king, King David, you're a wicked person. You going to say that and think you're going to walk away?
Right.
Go ahead.
And to princes, ye are ungodly. How much less to him that accepted not
How much less to him that don't even regard a king? Go ahead.
That accepted the persons of the prince, nor regardeth the rich more than the poor.
He don't accept the persons of the prince. He don't regard the rich more than the poor. Rich ain't got no favor with him. It means nothing. Go ahead.
For they all are the works of his hands.
Everybody is the work of God's hands. He created them. Go ahead.
In a moment shall they die, and the people shall be troubled at midnight and pass away, and the mighty shall be taken away without hand. For his eyes are upon the ways of man, and he seeth all his goings. There is no darkness, nor shadow of death, where the workers of iniquity may hide themselves. For he will not lay upon man more than right.
He will not lay upon man more than right. Go ahead.
That he should enter into judgment with God.
Then he would be able to enter into judgment with God. He'd be able to say, no, Lord, what you did to me, that wasn't right.
Right.
That wasn't right, Lord. I should have never went through that. Skip down to verse 31.
Surely it is meet to be said unto God, I have borne chastisement. I will not offend anymore. That which I see not, teach thou me.
Surely it is meet to say unto God, I have borne chastisement. I've been chastised. I will not offend anymore. That which I see not, teach thou me. If I don't understand why this is happening, show me, Lord. You don't sit here and accuse God of wrongdoing. I don't understand why I'm suffering, God.
Hmm.
Please show me. I know there's a reason for it. There's a just reason for it. Job didn't know that about that conversation between Satan and the Lord. That the Lord had said, try Job. He didn't understand why he was suffering, but he stepped over the border. He started accusing God of doing wrong, of taking away his judgment. What verse are we?
End of 32.
Go ahead.
If I have done iniquity, I will do no more.
If I have done iniquity, I will do no more. Skip down to verse 35.
Job hath spoken without knowledge, and his words are without wisdom.
He said, Job, you done spoke without knowledge, and your words are without wisdom. Go ahead.
My desire is that Job may be tried unto the end because of his answers for wicked men.
He's saying you answering for wicked men. You saying the same stuff that somebody wicked would say. Go ahead.
For he addeth rebellion unto his sin.
You're adding rebellion unto sins. Go ahead.
He clappeth his hands among us and multiplieth his words against God.
Multiplying your words against your maker. Let's go to Job chapter 35. 35, pick it up at verse 1. Elihu wasn't finished. Go ahead.
Elihu spake moreover and said, thinkest thou this to be right, that thou saidest, my righteousness is more than God's?
He's saying, you think this is right? You gonna say I'm more right than God? Go ahead.
For thou saidest, what advantage will it be unto thee? And what profit shall I have if I be cleansed from my sin?
He said, me being right, it ain't profited me nothing. This is what Job was saying. Go ahead.
I will answer thee and thy companions with thee.
I'm going to answer you and your companions. Go ahead.
Look unto the heavens and see, and behold the clouds which are higher than thou. If thou sinnest, what doest thou against him?
He said, take a look up in the sky, look at the heavens. He said, behold the clouds. He said, if you commit a sin, what are you doing to God? How are you hurting him? Go ahead.
Or if thy transgressions be multiplied, what doest thou unto him? If thou be righteous, what givest thou him?
What is your righteousness going to profit him? He owned the cattle on 1,000 hills. What are you giving God by being right? Go ahead.
Or what receiveth he of thine hand? Thy wickedness may hurt a man as thou art.
Your wickedness hurts man. You ain't doing nothing to God. And your righteousness, what does it do? Go ahead.
And thy righteousness may profit the Son of Man.
Your righteousness profits the people that are on the earth. You're not giving God anything.
Right.
What verse are we?
That was the end of verse 8.
Let's go into Job 36. Job 36. Job chapter 36, pick it up at verse 1.
Elihu also proceeded and said,
he's going on and he's saying some more. Go ahead.
Suffer me a little, and I will show thee that I have yet to speak on God's behalf.
He said, I got some more to say to defend my Lord. Go ahead.
I will fetch my knowledge from afar, and I will ascribe righteousness to my maker. For truly my word shall not be false. He that is perfect in knowledge is with thee.
He that is perfect in knowledge is with thee. So who is speaking through Elihu? Who is speaking? The Lord is speaking through Elihu. He's the only one that's perfect in knowledge.
Right.
Go ahead.
Behold, God is mighty and despiseth not any.
He said, God is mighty and despises not any. You got people that, they real good. I'm a top champion boxer and stuff. And then somebody come and talk to you. I ain't got time for you, bro.
Right.
Get out the way. God is mighty. He don't despise nobody. He's almighty and don't despise nobody. Go ahead.
He is mighty in strength and wisdom.
Mighty in strength and wisdom. Got these super smart people, got 10 PhDs, Oh, well, you wouldn't understand that,
Right. Right.
God is mighty in strength and wisdom, and he don't despise nobody. Go ahead.
Verse 6, he preserveth not the life of the wicked, but giveth right to the poor. He withdraweth not his eyes from the righteous, but with kings are they on the throne. Yeah, he doth establish them forever, and they are exalted.
Skip down to verse 17.
But thou hast fulfilled the judgment of the
He
wicked.
said, Job, you didn't fulfill the judgment of the wicked. Go ahead.
Judgment and justice take hold on thee, because there is wrath. Beware, lest he take thee away with his
He
stroke.
said, you better be careful, because the Lord has wrath. You sitting up here accusing him? Be careful. He might just take you away. Go ahead.
Then a great ransom cannot deliver
There
thee.
ain't no money going to deliver you. Once you dead, your judgment is set. Go ahead.
Will he esteem thy riches? No, not gold, nor all the forces of strength.
Skip down to verse 21.
Take heed, regard not iniquity, for this hast thou chosen rather than affliction.
He said, take heed, listen, regard not iniquity, don't commit a sin, because this is what you have chosen rather than afflict, rather than just suffer this that you're going through, and because you don't understand why the Lord is doing it.
Right.
Choose to do that, right? Choose affliction rather than commit a sin and accuse your God of doing something. That was verse 21.
Yes.
Keep going.
Behold, God exalteth by his power. Who teacheth like him?
He said, God exalted. He lifted you up by his power. He's got a way of teaching you. Go ahead.
Who hath enjoined him his way? Or who can say, thou hast wrought iniquity?
How are you going to judge the way he chooses to do something? Who can say, Lord, you're sinning, you're doing wrong?
Right.
Who can say that? What verse was that?
That was the end.
End of 23? Let's go and take a look at another man that was righteous. Let's go into Genesis. Genesis chapter 18. Let's look at the way Job should have come. Genesis chapter 18. Genesis chapter 18 and verse 16. Genesis 18 and verse 16. Go ahead, Brother Mark.
And the men rose up from thence and looked toward Sodom. And Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, shall I hire from Abraham that thing which I do, seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him? For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of
This
him.
is Abraham. Go ahead.
And the Lord said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous.
Very grievous. Sodomy is described as a grievous sin. Grievous. This is like horrible, horrible sin. Adultery described as heinous, and sodomy is described as grievous in the Bible. Two terrible things. Go ahead.
I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. And the men turned their faces from thence and went toward Sodom. But Abraham stood yet before the Lord. And Abraham drew near and said, wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked?
See the way Abraham's coming to the Lord humbly. He's not accusing him. Go ahead.
Peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do after this manner.
That be far from thee to do after this manner. Far be it from God that he should do unrighteousness. Go ahead.
To slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right?
Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? Go ahead.
And the Lord said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes.
Lord showed mercy, right? If I find 50 righteous, I will spare the city. Go ahead.
And Abraham answered and said, behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and
See how
ashes.
humbly Abraham is pleading with the Lord? He's not accusing him of anything. He's coming to him in a humble state. I'm just dust and ashes, Lord. Now I've chosen to speak. Please, please, if there be, go ahead.
Peradventure there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Shall thou destroy all the city for lack of 5? And he said, if I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy it.
Abraham did this over and over again. Lord, please, just let me speak one more time. And we know that through the story, he got down to talk the Lord down to 10 people. And the Lord couldn't find 10. He wanted to destroy the whole city of Sodom and Gomorrah. And the cities, sister cities that were around about it.
Right.
But this is the way that Abraham came to the Lord, humbly. This is the way Job should have done. He should have done it this way. Let's go into Romans. Because Paul talked about this also. Abraham said, far be it from God that he should do unrighteousness, right? Should not the judge of the earth do right? Paul talked about the same thing. Romans chapter 9. Romans chapter 9. We getting there, people. We got just a few more. Romans chapter 9. Verse 14. Romans 9, and pick it up at verse 14. Go ahead.
What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with God?
Is there unrighteousness with God? Go ahead.
God forbid.
God forbid. Go ahead.
For he said to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion.
I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. How are you going to tell me what to do with what's mine? Go ahead.
So then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of God that showeth mercy.
See, it ain't him that willeth, what you want, or what you've done, him that runneth. How much righteousness you've accomplished, it's on God that showeth mercy. He decides. Go ahead.
For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth.
He takes whatever he has and uses it for his purpose. Go ahead.
Therefore hath he mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he hardeneth. Thou wouldst say then unto me, why doth he yet find fault? For who have resisted his will?
Isn't this what they were questioning? Who has hardened himself against God and prospered? Did Job answer that, right? Go ahead.
Nay, but, O man, who art thou that repliest against God?
How are you going to reply against God? Go ahead.
Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus?
Why are you asking God why this is happening? He made you. He can do whatever he wants to with you. You are dust.
Right.
He has his reasons for whatever he's doing. How are you going to question your maker? Go ahead.
Have not the potter power over the clay, or the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor? What if God, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, and endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, and that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory?
Lord has his purpose for doing things. Okay. He has his purpose. Shall the thing framed say of him that framed me, he framed me not? He made me not? How are you going to question your maker? We can't do it. Things happen to us we may not understand. We might be suffering for them, but the Lord has his reasons for it.
That's right.
It is not for us to question. We're dust. We should be happy we just exist. How are we going to question our maker? Let's go back to Job 38. Back to Job 38. Job chapter 38. Job spoke all this stuff. Elihu answered him. Now he gonna get his wish. Job 38. Pick it up at verse 1. Job 38 and 1. Go ahead.
Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee an answer, and answer thou me.
Job, you want the box? Step in the ring, brother. Let's go. Let's go. Go ahead and read.
Where wast thou when I laid the foundation of the earth? Declare, if thou hast understanding.
Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? You questioning me?
Right.
Where were you when I laid the earth? You didn't exist, Job. Where were you? Go ahead.
Who have laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest? Or who have stretched the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof?
How was the earth built? Tell me, Job. Skip down to verse 12.
Hast thou commanded the morning since thy days, and caused the day spring to know its place?
You caused the morning to come up? You control that, Job?
Right.
Skip down to verse 16.
Hast thou entered into the springs of the sea, or hast thou walked in the search of the depth?
Where'd the sea come from? Huh? How's the waters down there, the springs that flow? Tell me, Job. Go ahead.
Have the gates of death been opened unto thee?
The gates of death open? Can you open and close? Can you bring people back from the dead? Can you open the gates of death? Go ahead.
Or hast thou seen the doors of the shadow of death? Hast thou perceived the breath of the earth? Declare, if thou knowest it all. Where is the way where light dwelleth?
Where does the light come from, Job? Go ahead.
And as for darkness, where is the place thereof?
Where's the darkness hiding? Skip down to verse 24.
By what way is the light parted, which scattereth the east wind upon the earth?
Which way is the light parted? Huh? How's it divided? Show me, Job. Skip down to verse 28.
Have the rain a father? Who have begotten the drops of dew?
Where does the rain and the dew come from, Job? Go ahead.
Out of whose womb came the ice?
What about ice? Where's that come from, Job? Go ahead.
And the hoary frost of heaven. Who have gendered it?
The snow that comes down, huh? Where's that come from? Skip down to verse 31.
Canst thou bind the sweet influence of Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion?
Those constellations and stars up in the sky. You control those, Job? Go ahead.
Canst thou bring forth Mazzaroth in his season, or canst thou guide Arcturus with his sons?
All those constellations and stars and the North Star and all that stuff. You control those? All those planets up there? Go ahead.
Knowest thou the ordinances of heaven? Canst thou set the dominion thereof in the earth?
You going to set the ordinances of heaven? You going to make the sun come up and the moon go down? Go ahead.
Canst thou lift up thy voice to the clouds, that abundance of waters may cover thee?
Can you cause the clouds to produce rain? Go ahead.
Canst thou send lightnings, that they may go and say unto thee, here we are?
Skip down to Job 40, chapter 40. Job chapter 40. Job chapter 40. Pick it up at verse 1. Because the Lord continues to run his pedigree. Go ahead.
Moreover, the Lord answered Job and said, shall he that contendeth with the Almighty instruct him?
Say, you going to teach me? Go ahead.
He that reproveth God, let him answer it.
Come on, answer, brother. Speak up. Go ahead.
Then Job answered the Lord and said, behold, I am vile. What shall I answer thee? I will lay mine hand upon my mouth. Once have I spoken, but I will not answer. Yea, twice, but I will proceed no further. Then answered the Lord unto Job out of the whirlwind and said, gird up thy loins now like a man. I will demand of thee, and declare thou unto me.
Partner, you ain't getting off. It's round 2. It's round 2. Come on. Answer me. Go ahead.
Wilt thou also disannul my judgment? Wilt thou condemn me, that thou mayest be righteous?
Will you disannul my judgment? I'm the one that told Satan, hast thou considered Job?
Right.
You want to disannul what I decided to do? Will you condemn me that you can be right?
Right.
Go ahead.
Hast thou an arm like God? Or canst thou thunder with a voice like him? Deck thyself now with majesty and excellency, and array thyself with glory and beauty.
Deck thyself with majesty and excellency. Array thyself with glory and beauty. Transform, Job. Let me see your glorious body. Go ahead.
Cast abroad the rage of thy wrath, and behold every one that is proud, and abase him.
Yeah, get angry and make everybody scared. Thunder and lightning and cause everybody to be afraid of you. Go ahead.
Look on everyone that is proud and bring him low, and tread down the wicked in their place. Hide them in the dust together and bind their faces in secret.
Cause 185,000 soldiers to disappear in one night. Go ahead.
Then will I also confess unto thee that thine own right hand
Then when I
can save
confess
thee.
unto thee that thy own right hand can save thee. What kind of power you think you have? Let's go into Job 41. Job 41. Go ahead.
Canst thou draw out Leviathan with an hook, or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down? Canst thou put an hook into his nose, or bore his jaw through with a thorn?
Skip down to verse 7.
Canst thou fill his skin with barbed irons, or his head with fish spears?
Skip down to verse 10. Go ahead.
None is so fierce that dare stir him up.
Nobody even tries to stir up Leviathan. Go ahead.
Who then is able to stand before me?
How are you going to stand before me if you can't deal with him?
Right.
How are you going to stand before me? Go ahead.
Who had prevented me that I should repay him?
Who had prevented me? Who has stopped me from repaying him what he's got coming to him? Go ahead.
Whatsoever is under the whole heaven is mine.
Whatsoever, including you, Job, that is under the whole heaven is mine. I can do what I want with what's mine.
Right.
Let's go into Job
22.
Did we read to 22? 42?
Job.
Let's go into Job 42. Job 42 and verse 1. Let's see what Job does after this. Go ahead.
Then Job answered the Lord and said, I know that thou canst do everything, and that no thought can be withholden from thee. Who is he that hideth counsel without knowledge? Therefore have I uttered that I understood not.
Job said, I uttered. This is what a lot of people do when they charge God foolishly. They utter stuff that they don't understand. Go ahead.
Things too wonderful for me, which I knew not. Hear, I beseech thee, and I will speak. I will demand of thee, and declare thou unto me. I have heard of thee by the hearing of the ear, but now mine eye seeth thee. Wherefore I abhor myself and repent in dust and ashes.
Said, Lord, I am sorry. I was wrong. I repent in dust and ashes. Skip down to verse 10. See what happened when Job repented for this. Go ahead.
And the Lord turned the captivity of Job when he prayed for his friends. Also the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. Then came there unto him all his brethren and all his sisters and all they that had been of his acquaintance before, and did eat bread with him in his house, and they bemoaned him and
Comforted.
comforted him over all the evil that the Lord had brought upon
Over
him.
all the evil that the Lord had brought upon him. Right? Can there be evil in the city and the Lord has not done it? Go ahead.
Every man also gave him a piece of money, and every one an earring of gold. So the Lord blessed the latter end of Job more than his beginning.
He blessed his latter end more than his beginning. Go ahead.
For he had 14,000 sheep.
He used to have 7,000, right? Go ahead.
6,000 camels.
Used to have 3,000 camels.
And 1,000 yoke of oxen.
Used to have 500 oxen.
And 1,000 she-asses.
And used to have 500 donkeys. Okay. Go ahead.
He had also 7 sons and 3 daughters.
He restored a family to him, right? Skip down to verse 16.
After this lived Job 140 years and saw his sons and his sons' sons, even 4 generations.
Even 4 generations. He saw his great-grandchildren. Go ahead.
So Job died being old and full of days.
And Job died being old and full of days. Okay? Now, what is the story of Job that we've learned? Okay. Let's let David tell us. Let's go to Psalms 37. Psalms 37. Psalms 37. We're going to pick this up at verse 23. Psalms 37 and verse 23. Okay, Brother Mark, go ahead.
The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord.
The steps of a good man are not ordered by their cause, but they're ordered by the Lord. Job talking about, I will order my cause. No, steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Go ahead.
And he delighteth in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand.
Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down. When we're going through these trials and tribulations, trust in your God. Go ahead.
I have been young and now am old, yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread.
Nor yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. Skip down to verse 37.
Mark the perfect man and behold the upright.
Job was called what? A perfect and upright man. Mark, notice, pay attention to the perfect man and behold the upright. We just did that. We just walked through a perfect and upright man all afternoon. Go ahead.
For the end of that man is peace.
What was Job's end?
Peace.
Go ahead.
But the transgressors shall be destroyed together. The end of the wicked shall be cut off.
The end of the wicked shall be cut off. You see wicked prospering? Their end is going to be just like Job described. That is their portion. So don't worry about what the wicked are doing and how they're prospering now. Their end is coming. Go ahead.
But the salvation of the righteous is of the Lord.
The salvation of the righteous is of the Lord. You might be going through something, you might be suffering. You don't understand why. Trust in your God. Go ahead.
He is their strength in the time of trouble.
He is our strength in the time of trouble. Go ahead.
And the Lord shall help them and deliver them.
The Lord shall help them and deliver us. He will deliver them. Go ahead.
He shall deliver the wicked. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them because they trust in him.
Deliver and because we trust in him. Let's go to James 5. James chapter 5. James chapter 5. We're going to pick it up at verse 7. We got one more after this, and then we gone. We out of here. Hope I haven't kept you all too long. James 5 and verse 7. Go ahead, Brother Mark.
Be patient, therefore, brethren.
Be patient. Patience. Be patient, therefore. Go ahead.
Unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waited for the precious fruit of the earth, and have long patience for it.
Have long patience. James said, the trial of your faith worketh patience. Patience. Go ahead.
until he receive the early and latter rain. Be ye also patient.
3 times he done told you, be patient. Go ahead.
Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh. Grudge not one against another, brethren.
Grudge not one against another. There's that judgment. Be careful about judging people. Go ahead.
Lest ye be condemned. Behold, the judge standeth before the door.
The judge is Christ. Go ahead.
Take, my brethren, the prophets who have spoken in the name of the Lord, for an example of suffering, affliction, and of patience.
Take the prophets for an example of suffering, affliction, and patience. 4 times. Patience. Go ahead.
Behold, we count them happy which endure.
We count them happy which endure. Go ahead.
Ye have heard of the patience of Job.
5 times. Now you heard the patience of Job. We read about the patience of Job. Go ahead.
And
he got pushed to a point where he became self-righteous. Go ahead.
And have seen the end of the Lord.
We've seen the end. What?
That the Lord is very pitiful and to tender mercy.
He restored Job back to his office. Go ahead.
But above all things, my brethren, swear not.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
That was it. 11. Skip that to let's go to 1 Peter. That's First Peter, the 4th chapter. This is the last verse. 1 Peter 4. 1 Peter chapter 4. We've seen that the Lord is pitiful and of tender mercy. 1 Peter chapter 4. And pick it up at verse 12. 4 and 12. Go ahead.
Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you.
When you are suffering these things and you can't find a reason for it, don't think that it's a strange thing. Go ahead.
But rejoice, inasmuch as ye are partakers of Christ's sufferings.
Because Christ didn't do anything, and he suffered all this stuff, right? He did no sin. Yet he went through a whole lot of suffering for us. Go ahead.
That when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. If ye be reproached for the name of Christ, happy are ye.
If you suffering and you're a Christian, be happy. Rejoice. Maybe Satan is asking the Lord, have you considered my servant here?
Mm-hmm.
Have you looked at my servant Kevin? Have you looked at my servant Dan? Huh? Have you looked at my servant Robert? Huh? Maybe the Lord is inviting Satan to take a look at you. Go ahead.
For the Spirit of glory and of God resteth upon you, and on their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified. But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters. Yet if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed.
If you're suffering and you know that you're doing what's right, don't be ashamed of it. Go ahead.
But let him glorify God on this behalf. For the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God.
The time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God. We in these last days, people. We're in these last days. Satan is busy. He knows he has a short time. We are going to be tried. We are going to be tried. Prepare yourselves for us. Go ahead.
And if it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of God?
If it begin at us, what is the wicked going to be? What is their end? What is their outcome going to be? Go ahead.
And if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? Wherefore let them that suffer according to the will of God commit to the keeping of their souls to him in well-doing as unto a faithful creator.
Brothers and sisters, if you're going through suffering and you can't see a reason for it, commit the keeping of your souls to God, to a creator that's faithful. Commit your souls to him and endure with patience. the fiery trial that tries you.
Yes, sir.
I thank you for your time. I hope somebody learned something today.
Excellent lesson, bro.
We have any announcements?